Hey guys, sorry I'm back. Wasn't prepared for those guys to come back and we had to jump in the car again and leave. But anyways, back on the topic of the grief recovery weekend workshop and what to expect. So like I mentioned in my first live earlier today, that I've been getting a bunch of inquiries about what this workshop is. Tell me more about this. Where's it going to be? Things like that. So if you click on the event page itself on Grief Recovery Guam and CNMI or my Darlene Garcia business page, you'll see that the workshop is 2 days. It's Saturday and Sunday. It's from 8:30 to 5:30. Usually runs full day on Saturday, and then really depends on how big the group is and how much we can cover on Saturday will determine what time we end on Sunday. But I always tell people it's 8:30 to 5:30 both days because we don't want to rush. We want to make sure that everybody is heard, that we're providing a safe space and moving at a pace that is comfortable for the group. And so it's 2 days of intense work on discovering what grief is, what it isn't. You're going to learn so much more about grief than most people on the planet. And that's really a quote that the Grief Recovery Institute likes to use because it's really true. When I first took this workshop for myself back in 2015, I had no idea that I had grief all wrong. I was isolating in my room. I thought I needed to be strong. I thought that time would heal. And so I believed in all of the things that most people believe in when it comes to grief. And those things kept me in this dark space because it felt so confusing. It felt not right in many ways. I knew that even though I learned that time heals, that when Frank died, I never believed that time could do anything for me because I really felt like I was going to be in this dark, sad space for the rest of my life. And this method proved me wrong on all levels. And it brought me to this space of so much wisdom and appreciation for the space that I'm in now. You know, I miss Frank and love him every single day. Every time that I breathe, I think of him. But his death has brought so much purpose and meaning to my life after I was able to acknowledge my space of grief, to acknowledge what I needed to do to effectively heal, and to be comfortable with allowing sadness and joy to coexist in my life. It's not an easy thing to do for many people, because it doesn't sound right, like how can I be happy and sad at the same time? But you really can. It doesn't mean that when I cry and I miss Frank that I'm taking a step backwards, and a lot of people feel that. They feel that just when they think that they're better, they get these triggers and things happen, and that's not necessarily true. When you get triggers, a lot of times, it just really depends on what those triggers are, because they could be triggers that are letting you know that there's something deeper that you need to work on, or they could be that space of grief of, gosh, I really miss him, and in this moment, in this event that's happening, in the special occasion, I miss him, and that puts some sadness in my heart. But at the same time, I'm allowing myself to feel it, acknowledge it, and let it pass through me. But it took a long time for me to get there, a lot of hard work in healing and understanding where these feelings of grief were coming from, because it wasn't just the physical loss of Frank that was definitely the most impactful, and that's what brought me to that dark space of grief. But then there was all these other things that came after: missing my lunch date, missing that warm body next to me, missing the father of my kids, the grandfather of my grandbabies, missing the person that made me laugh over the silliest things, missing my travel partner, missing those rides on his motorcycle, missing the person that I could just, bounce off any idea, good or bad, and he would listen and support me. So there were so many things about Frank's death that brought on other feelings of grief. And so grief is, again, so much more than just the death of a loved one, because after Frank died, there was so much more that came up as a result of missing him, and then realizing that I had other grief in my life. It wasn't just him. Like, there's so much stuff that I need to work through from my childhood and from being a teenager, from early on in my adult life, even to getting married. Like, there were feelings of grief there. I missed being independent by myself, not having, to rely on someone else or check in with someone else because I was used to being by myself. And so marriage sometimes does that when you're so used to being independent and on your own. So there's a lot of things that come up when you learn the grief recovery method. You're going to rediscover all of these different things about yourself and about the losses that you've had in your life. But you've got the tools now that will help you through each of those as you move through life. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that it's never too soon to heal your heart, and it's also never too late to heal your heart. So I remember when I walked into the grief recovery program for myself for the very first time in 2015, the people that were there with me that were also healing had been grieving for 5 years, 20 years, and here I was 3 months in. And so immediately I thought, oh my gosh, maybe it's too soon. I should probably go back home and stay stuck and dark for a little while longer, because these guys have been dealing with it for years and years and years. But the truth is, they were very inspired by me coming in early on and acknowledging that I needed help that quickly after my husband died. And they actually wished that they had done it much sooner. And it actually breaks my heart now, knowing what I know in this journey of healing and helping others, that there are so many of you out there that have been dealing with your grief for so many years. And that hurts me so much, because I know that the grief recovery method is an amazing transformational program that can help you through any loss that you've dealt with in your life. And for someone to think that they have to stay stuck, or that there's no way out of this dark space that you're in, that this is what your fate is, that is a huge myth, because that is so not true. Like, I have not known anyone that has gone through the grief recovery method program that didn't find healing, that didn't find transformation. The only ones that are going to tell you that they didn't are the ones that didn't finish the program. It's one of those things that you need to finish in its entirety, which is why I'm so passionate about the 2-day weekend workshop, because you get to do it in 2 full, intense days. 2 days. It doesn't sound like a lot, right? It's intense. There's a lot of work that you have to do, but to have someone there like myself to guide you through it in a safe environment is going to make this program so amazing. And I can't tell you that enough. I had a gentleman that came through my program when I launched this back in Guam in July. And he's got a testimonial on my Darlene Garcia business page, so you'll see it there. But he had a lot of grief in his life, and for years and years and years. And he went through my weekend workshop, and the transformation that I saw in him just filled my heart with so much warmth. Everyone that actually went through the program that day, everyone walked out with this lighter space in their head, in their heart, in just their whole being, and walked away being amazing family to each other. Came in as complete strangers and walked out as family. And that is the magic, the transformation of this program. And all of their grief was different. Some of them, yes, have definitely been dealing with it for years and years and years. I think all of them actually were dealing with it for years and years and years. And so, you don't have to wait. And that's the unfortunate thing, is a lot of people don't know where to go to get help. And I was very blessed and fortunate that I was introduced to the program so early on after Frank died. But I will tell you that 3 months felt like an eternity. When you lose someone that you love, that is the love of your life, and you don't know how to live life without them, that dark space, trying to move through life every single day, every single moment, just sucks the energy right out of you, right? So you know what I'm talking about if you're dealing with that type of loss in your life today. But even if you're suffering from divorce, even if the marriage was bad for years and years and years, that marriage was what you're familiar with. It's what you were comfortable with. It's what you know. And so even though you may tell yourself that the divorce is best for both of you, there's love lost there. There's memories that were had there. You fell in love with each other, right? You didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm not in love anymore. Things happened over time. When you retire from a job, I remember when I retired from United, I was excited to start new adventures in my life, but I was so extremely sad to leave this family of coworkers that I have loved for over 24 years, almost 25. And we grew up together. We had our kids together. We started to have grandkids together. So, you know, it was a family that I was leaving, and that hurt. It was sad. And I remember 3 days after my retirement, it hit me, and I was filled with so much overwhelming emotion. And I called my sister and I was crying, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. But it wasn't only just losing that family, it was also losing the stability, the income, walking into work and having structure around me, walking in and being around people all the time, all day. And so there was so much around that, right? So it's not just one specific thing. It could be an event, but that event has a ripple effect of so many different losses. And so when you start to understand that grief is so much more than just that one event, then you're going to realize that you do need help, you do need healing. And I want to invite you guys to come out and be open to that possibility of finding healing and finding structure. Hi, sister. Glad you're tuning in. Can't wait to see you. But to come and do it before something deep and impactful happens in your life. You know, I waited until Frank died for me to realize that I needed help, that I had lost big. What I didn't realize was that I had lost over the course of my lifetime. Small losses, big losses, you know, average losses. Still, it's loss. And as human beings, we experience loss throughout our life, and many times we just suppress it, we mask it, we self-medicate, right? We numb, and then that loss kind of gets pushed down because another loss happens, and then that gets pushed down because another loss happens, and pretty soon you've got all of these losses piled up on top of each other, and then you experience something. You experience anxiety, depression, you have a health condition, you're wondering why you're all of a sudden getting so angry, you don't even know where it's coming from. You have these triggers, these panic attacks that come out of nowhere, right? And it's not a health condition that just happens. It's human emotion that we suppress, and our body is telling you that it's trying to protect you from the stress and the trauma that's being caused by these human emotions. And it's telling you that it can only do it for so long, and you need to do something to heal from it, because otherwise it's going to come out in other ways, in, like I said, in self-medicating, in addictions, in health conditions, in things that we don't realize are associated to the emotions that we suppress. So human emotions are not meant to be suppressed. They're meant to flow through us. They're meant to be acknowledged and to be felt. And it's a pain that none of us want to feel, and I get that, because I don't ever like to feel it either. It's uncomfortable. But I want to tell you that the grief recovery method is one of those amazing tools that help anybody through any loss. And I'm so passionate about it because I honestly didn't think that I could heal from it. And whether you've been dealing with your loss for years, for months, it just happened a few weeks ago, it doesn't even matter. I want to encourage you and invite you to come and even just get on a call with me so I can tell you a little bit more about it, learn about what your grief is, tell you about my story a little bit more, and let's see if this is something that we can work through together. But be open to the possibility, guys, because healing is definitely possible. I'm a walking, living proof of that, right? So anyways, it's really cold out here in Vancouver, Washington. So I'm going to go back inside the house. But I just wanted to come out and talk to you guys a little bit more about the program and you know, who it's for. It's for everybody, but I wanted to try and identify, you know, whether your losses were a long time ago or recent. Again, it doesn't matter what kind of loss it is. It doesn't matter. The grief recovery method really will help you no matter where you're at in your space of loss and grief. So I'll come back on again when I get back to Canada and talk a little bit more about some of the other things around the program. And I invite you to direct message me and let me know if you want to chat, get on a call. We can talk a little bit more one-on-one. All right. So love you, sister. I'll see you soon. Okay, guys, take care and be safe.